Terrarian in the Dungeon, Chapter 1b, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. I saw a black and gold-covered leopard tail flick from behind her seemingly in amusement. Your stars do not fit within this world's star system, of course. Sesha cursed after likewise staring at me, and I realized she might have had some kind of prophetic seer ability, like how Freya could see souls even in her limited mortal form. May I close the door for this conversation? I asked dryly, and the goddess huffed, and then she pulled a string which made me move quickly out of the way as a massive, almost vault-like door silently swung through the air, suspended only on some strings that Sesha was maneuvering from her long couch she was laying upon. Satisfied? No, actually, why are you here anyway, childish? Sesha asked, demonstrating her cat-like nature in wanting to sleep, I guessed. Well, originally I wanted to see if you were worthy, frankly, of me joining your familia, and then going from there I would do so. But now I am wondering if I can get answers about how many other deities will notice or care about me being thrown into this world against my will, and most importantly whether I need to flee. I spoke candidly as I took a small stool for a seat, making Sesha huff and groan. Sesha then sat up, and I was able to fully take her in fully, coming to the realization that Sesha, with her darker skin and now the rather scant, almost Egyptian-style clothes, marked her being a part of the Egyptian pantheon. Sesha was wearing a golden top that covered her fairly hefty-sized breasts but left her sculpted stomach bare, and she was finally wearing a skirt that seemed to be dozens of layers of thin silk that would obscure what was beneath except where it was pulled taut. Do you know me, mortal, from beyond these stars? She asked suddenly, and I shook my head. Say it. Speak the truth, she said, with her golden eyes tightening in their slit forms. Look, Sesha, I literally never heard of you before today. Hell, I literally was just dropped into this world less than an hour or two ago. I was just told by the guild that you were rated to be rather reasonable, and more importantly my name is Jake Barris. Quit just calling me mortal, I said, throwing my hands up a bit, making Sesha giggle. Fine, Jake. So, what makes you worthy of joining my familia? She said leadingly, and I realized I may have fucked up when I said I came here to see if she was worthy of joining, as that came off as an extremely arrogant move. I apologize for the way I said that. I have certain abilities that will lend to possibly making me quite powerful in the dungeon, and just generally very powerful, I said as I realized all the magic items I could craft, not to mention how I could craft accessories that can give weaker skills to people. Sesha hummed and gave me a very interested look, hearing that, as all deities came down to Genkai to find the burning stars within the mortal races and watch their stories. Wait. Don't tell me you have unlimited mana or some kind of super regeneration. Sesha threw out excitedly, with her leopard tail swishing back and further behind her excitedly, and my face twitched as I shook my head. You can teleport even in the dungeon? You can make mortals fall in love with you despite your slightly above mediocre face at will? She continued excitedly, and now I was deadpanning at her dumbass. No. Actually, seeing as you don't want me to tell you, how about I just keep it a secret? I teased, and her tail went ramrod straight as she hissed at me. You, a mortal, dares to withhold information from this divine scribe? She truly looked affronted and offended, so I grinned and nodded. I, Jake Barris, will freely say this: the cheat I have is better than anything else you have seen or heard of down here in Genkai, in its sheer breadth of its influence that it can bring to Oreo, I said gleefully, as even with normal Terraria stuff, once I get to hard mode weapons and shit, yeah, Hephaestus will demand to have my children should she see the Zenith or even just the Terra Blade. I know you aren't lying to me. Fine. I will allow you the honor of scratching my ears and rubbing my belly when you join my familia, Sesha said, as though it was some great sacrifice, and I wanted to point out that getting a good belly rub and head scratches should be worth more to her, but then I remembered how cats, even if you gave them the perfect belly rub, they would still bite the shit out of you for daring to take liberties in rubbing for too long. Alright, so how are we doing this? I asked after a moment of silence, after the cat-girl goddess recollected herself. Let us retire to my solar, from there I can still hear any customers come in and I can enjoy the sun warming my mortal frame. Sesha mused as she gracefully slipped off her perch, and then her deceptively strong tail wrapped around my wrist and began pulling me along behind the goddess. The goddess known as Sesha then led me up a small flight of stairs, and then, after going down a small hallway, she pushed open a door, and then I was met with a flood of light, as the solar room definitely lived up to its name, as the roof of the room had glass panels that seemingly magnified the sun's rays coming in from above, and then the goddess had her admittedly soft tail let go of my wrist as she pointed at a large disordering pile of blankets on one of the large circular cushions littering the room. Take off your shirt and go lay down on that bedding, You will be sleeping here as well, seeing as the other 4 rooms in the building are my personal bedroom, a kitchen, the workshop, and of course the storefront. Sesha explained, and I nodded, honestly just thankful I didn't have to sleep outside or something. Wordlessly I took off my shirt and then lay upon the pile of blankets, and a thick cushion, waiting for my soon-to-be personal goddess to mark me with her divine sigil. "Don't worry, this won't hurt you a bit," she muttered, giving my shoulder a squeeze as I slightly jumped, feeling the goddess sitting atop my thighs so she could hunch over to presumably engrave my fauna onto my very soul. With the goddess so close and my face lying atop her blankets, I could smell the sun-warmed fabrics and more clearly recognize her honey and cinnamon-like scent that she carried. Then I could only describe the sensation of feeling like a cold syringe being injected into my body as I felt the drop of divine blood Sesha used to make the connection between us seemingly merge into my whole body, and then I heard Sesha exclaim in wonder as she was working through my fauna before coughing as she pinched me. "What the fuck is a Terrarian mod, and why can you only get 1 per level instead of development abilities?" she asked, pinching my side to the point of making me squirm, not out of pain but in surprise. "It has to do with my cheat," I explained, and then went on to explain how I had the knowledge of an entire crafting tech/magic tree sort of downloaded into my mind, but I needed help learning how to make stuff in general, and not to mention the tools to do such things. There are literally thousands of these damned mods. "Which one do you even want to take?" she asked, completely overwhelmed due to the information in my fauna, and then, after a moment of thought, I realized in the end if you were going to play modded Terraria, there was one mod above all others you typically added to give more content and better stuff, as I made sure to ask if there were straight-up cheat mods, which unfortunately there weren't. "Download the Calamity mod," I said after a moment of thought, as I realized that after I get Calamity mod, I could get crafting recipes for most weapons that were drop exclusive, and while she was scanning the mods, I could get a sense of what they could do, and the Calamity mod had all its side mods as well, except for cheat mods like the damn Dragon Ball Z mod that will not be spoken of. For a moment I felt her freeze, and then she asked me very dryly, "And what does this Calamity mod give you? Will it allow you to make some monsters that will resemble the beasts of Calamity that escaped the dungeon?" Nope, they will be weaker," I answered weakly, as I had little clue as to how strong even the so-called weaker bosses in per-hard mode in real life would be. As I have seen the Eye of Cthulhu, and it was a massive scary eldritch monster that gave me nightmares. "Fine. At least you will bring me entertainment, and the only real reason I accepted you into my familia is because I cannot see your fate. Watching you mortals grow is boring when I see your ultimate end anyway." Sesha muttered, and then I twitched as I felt the Calamity mod be installed, and then heard a little mental ding as a goodie bag was dropped into my inventory. "Is that why you have no familia members?" I asked as Sesha crawled off of me and just face-planted in the warm covers a bit away from me, and she silently nodded, not answering any further. "So, when can you teach me some woodworking for me to get started, as it were?" I asked after a few minutes after just relaxing into the nice warm blankets. "Ugh. Fine, let's get you started then," Sesha muttered, and then she once again wrapped up her tail around my wrist as she dragged me across her building to the back workshop to hopefully begin teaching me how I could make myself a wooden workbench so I could in turn keeping working, and make an anvil and a furnace so I could go into the dungeon with a full set of metal armor and a decent weapon.